Hey guys, we're talking about New Hampshire here, and I'll talk about it for both the Cup Series and the Xfinity Series. I got a lot going on this week. I'm sure I'll talk about it more in the future. Um, Live shows, I'll probably be live. I probably won't do like a normal hour show. It'll probably be like a 20-minute show on Saturday and Sunday. But yeah, so when we look at the Cup Series at New Hampshire, the two recent races that I would look at specifically would be the Gateway race earlier this year and the New Hampshire race last year. When you look at the Gateway race this year, if you remember, Kyle Busch started first. He ends up winning the race, but he ends up leading. He ends up leading starting on lap number 2, leading to 60. Him and Ryan Blaney pretty much switch off leading in this race between green flag pit stops, between them getting off a pit road correctly. But it was pretty much Ryan Blaney and Kyle Busch. And if you remember, Ryan Blaney had a lot of momentum entering this race from just how they've been performing. We had seen an increase on how fast Ryan Blaney was. But what I'm looking at specifically here is, yeah, sure, Kyle Busch started first, Blaney started second. But if you were looking to find lap leaders, it was the driver starting seventh, the driver starting second, and the driver starting first here at Gateway. And yet again, pit lane played a huge role in who was able to maintain track position, who wasn't, so on and so forth, even with the high wear and all the tire issues that these guys faced at Gateway. When we look at last year's New Hampshire race, we have your pole sitter, Mark Truex Jr. pretty much just ran away with the race, 171 laps led. And yes, we do have quite a lot of yellows in this race, and I have a green flag around 24 laps, but for the most part, it was just Truex killing the field. The only time he lost the lead, from lap 95 to 120, outside of like green flag pit stops and stuff like that, or outside of people leading under yellow, just regular like racing stuff. Was Christopher Belt getting on a slightly different strategy, and that was really it. When we look at the amount of people left on lead lap, 13 drivers finished on lead lap in this race last year, despite the fact we had a 24.9 lap average run. This race only saw 70% of the race ran under yellow. So when I'm looking at this, you're not seeing a huge amount of place differential come through. Like, sure, you have Chastain go from 18th to 8th, Suarez 19th to 9th, Cindric 28th to 13th, Briscoe 29th to 15th, A. Allmendinger 20th to 16th. But really past that, most of the place differential plays are like anywhere from 4 to 5 positions. You even have Logano, who started 12th, finishes 24th. He leads 25 laps, but just gets caught on the wrong side of an accident, ends up getting stuck at lap down. So when I'm looking at New Hampshire, I would prefer to look at the majority of short tracks that we have seen as of late. Specifically this year, we could look at Richmond, we could look at Martinsville, we can look at Phoenix, and that'll give you a pretty good indicator of where people are. We've seen that Hendrick has been wildly consistent. We have Kyle Larson and William Byron, at the forefront of that. As I said, last month. And so you want to play Kyle Larson, you want to play William Byron, you want to play these two drivers pretty much every weekend outside of a plate race or they're even viable on a road course at this point. But Larson and Byron seem to be guys that I want to try and focus on, specifically if they start 1 and 2. Christopher Bell, Truex, Hamlin are probably the next drivers that I would focus on chasing. And I assume that one of those 5 or 6 drivers I just mentioned ends up getting the pole position. I would be very hesitant on chasing a lot of place differential in this race. Yes, clearly, if we have Briscoe starting, even Briscoe's been slow, but if we have Briscoe starting in the high 20s, if you have A.J. Allmendinger starting in the high 20s, if you have Cindric, if you have Justin Haley, guys like that, yeah, sure, we want to chase those guys. But I don't know if Burton can necessarily, climb through the field because he didn't do it last year. I don't know if Gillen can really do much. I don't know if, who else am I looking for? Not Gillen. Oh yeah, I know Eric Almirola won this race 2 years ago, but that was because, if you remember, the Kyle Busch and Truex were out, it starts raining, those guys plow the wall. Basically takes out the 2 fastest cars. So yeah, I know I'm just kind of blowing through this stuff, but I really haven't had a lot of time to make videos, and I gotta get this done pretty fast. When we look at I mean, really just running lineups like Bell, Larson. I mean, I'm a little hesitant on Logano because Logano has shown up here. He's had great runs recently as of late and great place differential runs. Not really leading laps like Martinsville this year, or Martinsville last year. Fall race in Martinsville 12th to 6th. Richmond this year 18th to 7th. Martinsville earlier in the year 15th to 2nd. But he's not leading laps in these races. That's the main concern. I want to get guys who are going to lead laps, and the way you get that is by having guys who start at front, have good pit stalls, and things like that. But Christopher Bell, Kyle Larson, we could throw in Ryan Blaney. We've seen him improve. Chase Elliott, Truex, Hamlin, William Byron, Kevin Harvick. Those are the guys I want to focus on. If Keselowski and Buescher start up front, I have a really good inkling, a really good feeling that they can maintain a track position. Just because we've seen that from them as of late. Typically, if they can just start up front, they're going to stay up there with how their pit crews perform. They perform decent enough to stay within the top 12 if they are in a situation like that. And they typically have enough speed. Like when you look at Richmond this year, because Keselowski goes from 24th to 10th. Like that's going to be enough for him to get there. Even when you look at Buescher and him kind of going through the field, and specifically I'm looking at past Gateway races, past New Hampshire races, Phoenix, Richmond, and just kind of seeing how these guys are doing in these packs. Now we are also getting some changes to the short track packages this weekend, but I don't know if it's going to be that drastic. We're just going to take a look. It's a shame that Buescher starts 7th and falls to 30th at Richmond earlier this year, but the Martinsville 10th, basically 10th to 4th is fine with me. Richmond last year, the fall race at Richmond last year, 18th to 3rd. I'm perfectly okay with the RFK drivers. Let's go ahead and look at Xfinity really fast. It's really the same premise, and if anything, it's even more focused on Joe Gibbs and Junior Motorsports, just because those are the fastest guys. We're going to see huge discrepancy in speed, which we always do. I need to just kind of stop saying that because there's always a discrepancy in speed for the Xfinity Series field. But the guys that I would focus on the most would be Allgaier. Let me look at the entry list real fast. Oh, that's why I can remember it. It's because Joe Graff Jr. is in the 19 this weekend. So when we look at the drivers that I would focus on leading laps, being up front in the Xfinity Series, I mean, sure, place difference is going to come from just guys fucking up qualifying and stuff like that. But I would look at Nemechek, Custer, Sam Mayer. Let me see. Probably just Nemechek, because I don't know if Sammy Smith, if they qualify up front again, like they did at Richmond, and Sammy Smith and Nemechek have the fastest cars, then yes. Let me see it in practice from Sammy Smith, but I'll throw him in that category as well. That's really it. I don't think Austin Hill is going to have the speed to contend with the Joe Gibbs cars. Custer might be the only one to be able to do it, because we saw Riley Herbst have a lot of speed. Even when Custer was struggling this year, Riley had a lot of speed at the short tracks, so we can possibly look at that. And I think that's really about it, man. Like, I don't see Brandon Jones. I don't see Creed really showing up. Those are about the only guys I want to focus on for lap leaders at New Hampshire. And yeah, that's about it. I will see you guys in the live shows this weekend for the Xfinity Series and the Cup Series races. I'll see you guys then. Thank you for all your support, and I'll just see you on the weekend. See you.